Okay, so let's do the last problem here. So I have it written on the board. We've got angle A is 55.3, side A is 22.8, side B is 24.9. Again, one angle, two sides. We know there's a possibility, and like I said, I'll give you a little bit more guidance on that in a minute and making a decision. But we're going to set this up like normal. I am going to try and write a little smaller. Actually, let's do this. Sorry, guys. So you can see a little bit more. Okay, so I'm going to set this up. We've got sine of 55.3 over 22.8 is equal to sine of B over 24.9. So there's our setup. We go through, we cross multiply. We should end up with sine of B is equal to 0.89786678 and so on. Less than 1, take the inverse sign. We end up with B is equal to 63.9. Okay, degrees. So far, so good. Because we had two sides and one angle, we have to realize that there is a possibility of a second angle or a second triangle. So I'm going to go over here in a different color to try and keep things separate and say, all right, well, side or triangle 2, if we have a second triangle, is going to be the other angle. If I do 180 degrees minus 63.9, okay? Now, we do 180 minus 63.9 because when we had that drawing that I gave you, okay? So we had this drawing and it could have been here or it could have been here. The first angle we find is going to be this one. Okay, if there is another angle, it's this one over here, and so those two angles form a linear pair, which means they add up to 180. So linear pairs, if you remember that, it's two angles that add up to 180. Two angles that when you stick them together, they make a straight line. Straight lines, 180 degrees, triangles, 180 degrees. A lot of 180s. So if we subtract that, we get 116.1 degrees. All right. So in order to verify that we can have this as our second angle, we have to check that. We have to say, well, if I have 180 degrees because of a triangle, okay, so this is triangle, minus 116.1 minus 55.3, what do I have left? In this case, I have 8.6. So that is a really small angle, but it works. It's still going to be a third angle possible because these two numbers added together are less than 180 degrees. So that's my third angle for the second possibility. So that math to check this is not wasted math because that tells you the second triangle's angle C is 8.6 degrees. If we come back over here to what I have in blue, and just a kind of side note, I tend to kind of jump back and forth with these and do the same math at the same time for both triangles. If that is making you uncomfortable or you're like, oh my goodness, I'm going to lose what I'm doing, finish the first triangle and then go over and do the second one. Or finish the second one when you realize you can have one, then go back and do the first. I kind of keep things parallel here, work side to side, but that's just me and kind of what I prefer. So I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to say, all right, well, here's my original. I put a little 2 there. I just realized it should have been a 1. And so I'm going to do 180 minus 63.9 minus 55.3. That's going to give me my angle C for the first triangle. And so I end up with C sub 1 is 60.8 degrees. All right, so all I have left to do now is my law of sine for both of these triangles for side C. And so I'm keeping those little subscripts going. And so I'm going to have this again, sine of 55.3 over 22.8, there should be a decimal there, equals sine of 60.8 over little c sub 1. All right? You should be able to do this math. I'm going to let you do it on your calculator. You should end up with little c sub 1 is 24.213, and that is the end of triangle 1. And so you, again, there is a lot going on here. Please, 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 please keep your work neat and organized. I know some of you struggle with that. I'm not going to name any names. You know who you are. If you need to draw yourself kind of a line down the middle here to keep things separate, go for it. But please be neat. So to finish this one really quick, sine 55.3 all over 22.8 equals sine of 8.6 all over little c sub 2. Do the math, use your calculator, and you should end up with little c sub 2 is 4.15. All right. Okay, so kind of long problem. There's a little bit of math there that needs to be done just to check. Now, there is one clue that you can use to help you. It doesn't necessarily mean there's definitely one or two triangles, but one thing I do want you to notice is if you go to the second example that I did with you and compare it to this first one, okay? So, in this first one, can I erase this? So now that we've gone through each example, in this first one, in this third one that we did, you'll notice that these two go together, right? And then our side that's by itself is this one, and this side is bigger than the side that's paired with an angle. That means there is definitely a possibility of a second triangle. Doesn't mean there's definitely one. The possibility is there. If you go back to the second example we did right before the end of the first video, we had this, we had this, and we had this. These two things are paired together. Notice this side that's paired with this angle is bigger than this side. That means, so this side is smaller than the one that already has an angle. That means that this angle, angle A, will definitely be bigger than angle C, because opposite of angle A is a bigger side than opposite of angle C. So if that is the case, angle C is not going to have a second possibility because angle C cannot be bigger than angle A. Okay, so this is where you can do, if you remember these details. I mean, these are little things that we've learned in geometry that if we don't remember aren't the end of the world, because there's math that gets us around remembering those little details. This is kind of a shortcut. But if you have a scenario like this, a second triangle is not going to be possible. Whereas up here, the side that we don't have an angle paired with it is bigger than the side that has an angle paired, and so that is going to be a scenario where you have to check because there is a possibility, okay? Okay, so two kind of longer videos. I am going to not give you a bunch of practice problems to do. I just want you to make sure you understand what happened today, and then tomorrow we are going to just practice doing some of these, practice deciding if there is one or two or no triangles, and then finding the sides of the triangles that exist. And then after that, we'll move into that maze that's in your notebook. Okay? Okay, so I will see you all later, and have a good Monday. Bye.